just keep putting this character through so much BS and not expect any retaliation. Assalamu alaikum everybody. In this week's drama update, we are going over a bunch of dramas, including one brand new drama that is actually ending next week, and I basically binge watched the entire thing for you guys. And the second show that I'm adding into my list to review this week is a show I actually dropped, but one of you guys recommended that I should watch it, so we're gonna go over that as well. Without further delay, let's just get right into the first show, which is Iqtidar. Yes, Iqtidar is a show that I dropped a few episodes ago, and because of one of your guys' comments, I decided to give it another shot. I also had some recommendations from a relative that was saying it was really good. However, let's go over what I thought of this. I dropped Iqtidar back when there were only 12 episodes out, so now there's about 36. So I had to binge watch a whole bunch of episodes to catch up, and my thoughts are still honestly similar to how I felt before. I feel like this drama is just for funsies, honestly. Like, I feel like you can't take the show that seriously. It's just like fantasy world almost, to me. That's how I feel. My main concern back then with my previous reviews was the fact that I felt that the characters in the show were so over and it was so exaggerated that it just didn't feel very realistic at all to me. And it doesn't sit well with me, the fact that they're using, these relationships, the concept of marriage, to take advantage of each other, and it just makes me really uncomfortable. And doesn't even do it in a well way that you could appreciate the story of it. It's just like drama, but like really boring drama. That said, I do have some thoughts about some of the characters. First, we'll start off with Meru. I feel really bad for her because I feel like no one is on her side. In her entire family, everyone is against her except for her sister, who only in the last like 2-3 episodes started to like take her side more, or be like more involved in all of the situations that she finds herself in, that Meru finds herself in. And her mom is just completely helpless. I did appreciate the fact that she finally took a stand and was like, hey Meru, like, stop being ridiculous, when she was being like really unreasonable. I feel like Meru like did not respect her relationship with her fiance and her like cousin and like and the mom, even though the mom was kind of a red flag, to be honest, so easily swayed by others, and she's supposed to be like the mature older one, but she didn't, like, the vibe was not totally there. And then we have Aruj, who, oh my god, such a red flag. And unfortunately she did get what she wanted, which was that she wanted to separate Meru and her fiance and get with him basically, and that was the plan and the goal from the beginning. She finally gets that, but you can tell in the last couple of episodes, when they finally do get a chance to get engaged, that he's just not really present or there, and it's driving her crazy. And what I can see is we're going to see the downfall of Aruj for sure, and she's going to get exposed because she does not seem to care about anyone at all. And this is a theme with a lot of the shows, I feel, especially when you have this younger female character who just wants to sit around and do nothing and have no real responsibilities and have everything handed to her. It's not a good look at all, but I think that Rouge will eventually have to face the consequences of her actions. Those actions being ruining her cousin's relationship for her own benefit, which was very cruel and messed up for her and her mom to collaborate and work on together for. Now, talking about Meru's actual in-laws, okay, this Shahnawaz Shah guy, like, being able to see and binge all of the episodes very quickly, you can see that he does actually care about her, but then his like actions don't match how he feels at all. Like, he is experiencing so much cognitive dissonance, it's wild. Like, he is constantly fighting these demons that no one, like, I feel like he's putting himself in this position where he's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to not like her, but I actually do like her, which is why I proposed this whole thing. And like, yes, he wants to get his brother out, and that is the main goal, but I think that's the main goal of his mom, and he was just trying to kill two birds with one stone, get the girl and also free his brother basically. But it's really hard to watch sometimes because it feels like too try-hardy to me, and that's why I can't get myself to appreciate this show. So unrealistic for him to, like, first thing first, as soon as they get married, they're like, okay, sign these papers or whatever, and like he's suddenly like a totally different person. Like, if you really were like a true like politician and all of that stuff, like, you would have planned it out a little bit more. Like you would have like buttered her up and given it a couple weeks or something, and then gradually get to that point or something like that. Like it didn't make any sense to me. And it was good that Meru fought back, but I liked the fact that they finally showed some realism in her character, where, you know, she was distraught and upset with the situation she was finding herself in, but then eventually she's like, okay, I have to do what I can to make the most of it and like solidify her position within the household. But it was wild what she was having to go through Shahnawaz. Like that was messed up. Everything, like him locking her out and all of that stuff, that was so unreasonable and so immature. Like it's so frustrating to watch, to be honest. And it makes me think that at the end of the day, like they will have to eventually suffer at the hands of Meru in some capacity, because you can't just keep putting this character through so much BS and not expect any retaliation. And the last character that I think we really need to touch on, that everyone seems to brush off, is Amal. I feel so bad for her, because like I feel like they're showing her as this unstable, obsessed person, but she was committed to the relationship, and Shahnawaz was just stringing her along this whole time, and then eventually starts essentially cheating on her, and he's still stringing her along. And like I just feel so terrible. I think though now we're at a point in the show where she has accepted that like she's out of the picture, like there's nothing left for her, but I think that she will cause problems for Shahnawaz at some point in order to get her revenge. It's not even gonna be Meru that's getting the main revenge. I think it's gonna be her, because she is a powerful person at the end of the day, and she will have connections, and that's gonna probably come back and bite both of them, to be honest. Because even though Meru probably didn't know, no, she did know, she knew that they were engaged too. So yeah, they are toxic, holy crap. But let's go to another toxic couple, which is Titi and Reham. Let's go to Bismil. At this point they are over with each other, at least Reham is, and I would say it isn't even Reham and Titi that are toxic, it's Titi and Masuma. Masuma's in her own field though. Like she cannot be overshadowed by anyone with how toxic she is. I still don't understand how Bismil has not ended yet. It really should have ended at this point. I feel like they could have, these last two episodes could have easily been summarized in like 15 minutes, but I feel like they keep dragging it on a little bit. And at this point, I really do think we're gonna see the last two episodes. I don't know how they keep extending it every single week, and every single week I'm like, okay, next two episodes are the last episodes, so let's see if they drag it on further. But at this point, I think Masuma just needs to face the consequences of her actions, because at this point we've seen Titi face the consequences of his actions. He's heavily affected by the death of his son, but now Titi has become aware, and Reham has also become aware of the fact that Masuma basically played him and made him think that his family was not trying to reach out to him during the wedding and all of that stuff, which led to their son Musa eventually, you know, himself. What I feel like in these last two episodes was Masuma thinks that she is in the clear and she can just move on with her life, but now she's just focusing on making sure that she gets some portion or some amount that is, you know, her, that she is due and owed, especially given the fact that she is going to be the mother of his next child and only child at this point. And the thing is I thought about it, and I think she's going to really start making mistakes now, because she's going to be way too overconfident, because despite everything, despite constantly getting so much crap thrown at her, she continues to persevere, and now she's gotten to a point where, you know, she's back in his office again and as close as she can be with him, despite the fact that he's been trying to ignore her for so long. But the thing is, because of this overconfidence and thinking she's in the clear, she's gonna start to make mistakes, because at the end of the day, Reham and Titi are hurting. She's not, because it's not her son that passed away, it's their son that passed away, and she quite frankly didn't ever really care about him, and he was just an obstacle to get where she wanted to be. And so now I think that she will make mistakes, because we see in a preview of the next episode that she's taken like a huge sum of money out of his accounts, and so he is going to start to put the picture together, because he now knows about the fact that she intentionally deceived him, and he is going, like, Parda hil gaya hua hoga, and now he's going to be able to see what she was actually like, and that she was always after the money. And that is why I think the next two episodes are going to be the last two episodes, because now finally TT knows what's up and he's going to confront her, and I think it's not going to end well for her. So let's see what happens. I'm not sure if we're going to continue past another two episodes, but I'm thinking it's about time we end the show. And I just want to point out one more character. When it comes to Bismil, one character that I absolutely cannot stand is her mom, because I think she did such a terrible job of guiding her daughter, and she just was like, oh well, like I don't know what to do, you know better. And I'm like, I feel like she's just there. She's a yes man when she needs to be, and then when we need to give Masuma a conscience, because she doesn't have one, her mom steps in and is like, oh but like we shouldn't be doing this, and she'll say this generic statement about how you should be good, or how like the world works and karma and all of that, and then Masuma does what she wants anyway. So it's kind of frustrating to see her mom be such a terrible influence on her. It honestly seems like if Masuma's mom was in Masuma's position, she would do the exact same thing, if not worse. And so that's really disappointing. It's honestly really difficult to watch her like talk or interact, because she's such a frustrating character. But let's go to another very toxic and frustrating character, who is Maheen in this new drama that I started watching thanks to a recommendation from a friend, AIk Chubhan. It's about a narcissist woman who takes advantage and manipulates every single person around her to get what she wants, which is a life of luxury with little to no effort. But I think about it and I'm like, no, like manipulating people and doing everything that she was doing is honestly a lot of effort. But I think if you have no compassion, no empathy for others, I think it's easy to do that maybe. But yeah, this drama was amazing. The next episode is going to be the last episode. I literally binged the whole show, and so far totally worthy of binging and watching, because this show is a great show about nazar and, you know, being grateful of what you have and making sure and protecting your peace. Because if anyone, everyone always thinks, or at least I also think, that, you know, other people will want you to be happy, but people get jealous from everything you can possibly think of. It doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter how close the relationship is and how much you care about that person and how much you think that person cares about you. You have to protect your peace. This was such a good drama for that reason, and like, I'm like, this is a drama I probably would have made fun of as a kid, but I feel like I would have picked up on some lessons over time. And I have to say, when I first started this drama, I didn't know anything about it. My friend just mentioned like, oh, this is a really good drama, you should watch it. I started watching it and it was scary. I was like, is this supposed to be a horror? Because the expressions of Maheen in the beginning of the show and throughout are so terrifying. And the point, like, she's doing such a good job at showing this evil character that is able to switch between emotions so quickly. Like, the actress did such a good job. And it was just such a pleasure to watch this show. I will say it was really stressful at certain points for sure, because it's just so much happening and you can see how gradually things just start to get worse over time, and pata hi nahi chalta. So this was a really great drama. I'll probably leave my final thoughts in next week's episode, because I am really excited to see how it ends, and I think it's going to end really well. Great show though so far. And I do think we are going to get justice in the end, inshallah, for the main character. One thing I really liked about this show, and maybe I was able to appreciate better because I was able to watch all of the episodes together rather than having to wait weeks for every single episode to come out, but I really appreciated the character development in some of the characters. Amazing. If I had to pick my favorite character, honestly, the main character, jiske saath bahut bura ho raha hota hai, I really liked her. I forgot her name actually. Nyla is her name, and she's a great character, and the way they showed, like, she did a really good job of expressing like the suffering that she was going through and that many people go through when they go through what she is going through, which is insane. And she did such a good job, and they didn't like downplay. I feel like it was very realistic, and it was so nice to see her pick herself up. And albeit I don't know if it's that realistic and if people are able to recover that quickly, but obviously for the sake of the show they show it a lot more quickly, and it was just really nice to see that. I have my thoughts on how I think the show should end in terms of having a positive impression and on the youth and on women that go through things like this, but I'll leave that for next week's episode for sure, so definitely check that out. But in the meantime, let's go over another series of betrayal with Ishq E Junoon. There is this theme with so much betrayal in these episodes and in these shows, but Ishq E Junoon is no different because Rahim is being betrayed by his entire family. His father is not able to process what is going on. His fiance has essentially abandoned him totally, understandably why she would do that, and her father is frustrated and now kind of made his presence, and Rahim's father goes to him for support, but he's like, yeah, why would I do that? And I understand his perspective totally, because for your daughter, for you to be such a public figure, for you to have such a good relationship with the dad, and then for your daughter to have to go through that so publicly, I can totally understand why he was like, I'm not gonna help you. And I don't understand why Rahim's father even thought he could show his face to him, to be honest, given everything. The most important thing that happened in these 2 episodes though was the fact that the lawyer, I think, is going to try to frame Jamal, who is the fiance of Ayman. And I think I mentioned this in a few episodes ago, that Jamal is so loud and boisterous that I think that he is somehow going to get pinned with all of this situation, because he is not someone with money and power, but everybody else is, so they can pay other people off to frame him. And I think that is where the lawyer is going to go, the direction he wants to go, probably once he has enough evidence to frame a story. And that's so upsetting, because even though Jamal's not a good person, and I honestly do think that if the circumstances were correct, he would probably do something similar. Like, he gives off the vibe that he is at least financially abusive, if anything else, and really unstable when you look at like his history with Ayman prior to her accident. But at the end of the day, he is not the person that attacked her, and so he should not have to take the fall for that. But of course, the rich and powerful will do what they want to do, and I think that the lawyer will try to protect Rahim, because at the end of the day, wo unke liye kuch lagta to hai, and they need to just free him somehow, because he is probably feeling a lot of guilt, because he knows the truth, and his brother-in-law does not know, and he's suffering so much, and he's so unwell now. And the fact that Afia, or whatever her name is, the wife or the mom to Rahim, or the stepmom to Rahim, does not seem to give a crap, it's terrible. Like, it's so difficult to watch at this point, because we're just seeing more and more backstory. We're not seeing too much happen yet, but it does seem like we're going to see an interaction between Rahim and Ayman, and we'll see how that goes. I think that he is going to realize that she doesn't know who it actually was, and that all of this was intentional and goes back to his mom somehow. While we're still waiting on justice for all these other shows, one other show that I'm really liking is Ghair, because we finally get some justice for Wafa, and Shifa is exposed to her family, and she gets a couple slaps from her mom, and I was like, finally. And I appreciated the fact that the mom, accepted that her daughter was doing this, and that she had ill intentions in how she took advantage of Wafa. And I appreciated the fact that she's not like trying to still put it on Wafa or whatever. I understand that she probably had a little bit difficulty hazming this, but I think she realized the error of her ways. And of course, in true Ghair fashion, they switch up so fast, and so I'm not surprised that she switched up on her daughter so fast. And was the line that killed me was like when she was like, oh, next time when you try to end yourself, make sure you take more poison. That was terrible. But one thing that frustrated me again was the Dadi, man. She flip-flopped so much, and she changed her mind again about Wafa, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed, and then she's also flipping on her son, because she's like, oh, like, why are you talking about Wafa like that? Like, she's still your daughter at the end of the day. I'm like, but you basically taught him to hate her as well, and now you're like, oh, like, be nice to her or whatever. And then they get exposed, and then she's like, oh my god. And then the dad is also like, feels so much guilt. I like the fact that they didn't totally brush him off, and that he genuinely feels all this guilt. And I like the fact that they address the fact that yes, maybe he'll go and apologize to her, but that doesn't necessarily make everything better. But also he mentions the fact that he can never apologize and ask for forgiveness from his deceased wife or ex-wife, because she's no longer there. And I was actually thinking about this. I was like, if he didn't actually know what truly happened, is he still liable like in the hereafter, because he never was able to apologize or clear his name because he never found out. But it's like, but did he really do his due diligence to find out the truth? I don't think he did, and he was very reckless in his decision, and now he's going to have to suffer for that. So that's something that I was thinking about when I was watching these last 2 episodes. Let me know what your thoughts are about that in the comments down below, because I think that, you know, he would still be answerable even though he didn't have the information, but it's because he put himself in a position where he didn't seek confirmation, and he like just thought of himself and his family so much that like, you know, we're these great perfect people, how dare you do this to us, and, you know, ended the relationship. So I was very curious about that for sure. And in terms of moving forward, Solace is still a bit of a coward, as I've mentioned every single episode, but I do feel like it seems like the family is not going to support Wafa and Wafa and Solace separating, which is great, and they do not want him to get married to Shafa because of this whole situation. But I'm almost like, because second marriages are allowed, and like I feel like they probably know of a lot of people that do second marriages, like would they not be okay with something like that? Would that not be a better solution so that they can get what they want? Because you can't totally pull them apart if they truly do like each other that much. But I think it's just in their head that they like each other that much, and that would also probably still cause problems. So I don't think like a second marriage would work in that sense. But it seems like they want to just get her married off somewhere else, and focus their efforts on someone else for her rather than getting her with Solace at this point. And I like the fact that, like, last thing, I like the fact that Farjad actually, you know, उनने वफा के साथ अच्छा नहीं किया, अब आगे जाके उनके साथ अच्छा नहीं होना, किसी को उनको जवाब देना पड़ जाएगा, because अगर किसी के साथ बुरा करते हैं तो फिर आगे जाके आपको, it's basically like karma, it comes back to you, right? So if they have done this huge injustice to Wafa, at some point karma is going to get them, whether it's with them or their kids or further down the line. And so he's like, we need to correct this mistake and we need to apologize. So I appreciate that he was able to think further ahead this time, instead of just like what is in front of him and like trying to off his sister because of something he saw or thought he saw from the first couple of episodes, which led to all of this mess. So I appreciate the fact that he is finally a little bit more mellow-headed. And also, I really don't know where that office girl is coming into the picture at this point. She seems like I just don't get it, honestly. I just don't get it. What's the deal with her? No idea. Is she supposed to be Farjad's interest? I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like he should be left alone and he should not get married at this point. I don't know. But yeah, that's what's going on with that show. Then we have a couple more intense shows. I am going to leave my favorite show to the last, even though I really, really, really liked AIk Chubhan, but we're gonna leave Qarz E Jaan to the last. So the other show I wanted to talk about was Faraar and Duniyapur. Faraar, I have to say, was really I don't know, I just felt a little bit whatever about this episode, because I think I was really disappointed. First, we find out that the father-in-law, or the future father-in-law, is ended, no longer with us, and I felt so bad because, first of all, we didn't even get to see how it happened. It just happens, and you know, you see like them at the funeral, and it was just really sad because I was like, no, I really like the guy. But the thing that's kind of throwing me off with the show is the fact that Batish just seems so reckless, and he doesn't seem to be thinking things through. And so I'm just like, how is he supposed to be this high-level assassin if he is just so reckless? It just doesn't make sense. But the only thing that I really like about the show so far is that we get to see that in every like camp there is someone that is very capable and like good in from their perspective. So we have Batish, then we have the police officer guy who I think is going to be a potential interest for the girl. I have this feeling, but I could be wrong. And then we have all of the politicians, basically, right, who have a bunch of people around them. So it's just I feel like it'll be interesting because there will be formidable foes. I'm still waiting for how that guy from the gaon is going to connect, but it looks like he's gonna move into the city to get the girl that he likes because he needs to make money. But I'm wondering, is he gonna become like a hired hitman or like bully type of man? I don't know, we'll see. Then we have Duniyapur, which I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed with the direction that they're going with the show. And the reason is because I feel like the love story is so forced and so out of nowhere. Like, it doesn't make sense for him to take Shamir to take so many risks that he's taking right now. I'm just really thrown off by it, to be honest. And we see that basically there's a hit out for Anna and the entire family, and of course Shamir interferes with his father, and it makes no sense. But I have to say, I really liked the cinematography and the way certain shots were shot. It was really cool. And I had this terrible feeling that the Kasai's son was going to get killed by Shamir, but he did not. Instead, his servant, who was like considered like a traitor, eventually gets killed because he's basically about to say something about Anna, and Shamir like kills him instantly. Like, I just felt like very reckless, kind of like Batish, and I did not appreciate that. And now let's get into my favorite show so far, Qarz E Jaan. It was a great episode, and honestly, every single time I'm just like, man, I wish you could just make the episodes longer or just post twice a week. It would be so much more satisfying. But the best thing has to be, so far in this episode, the fact that Ammar gets beat up by his dad because he finds out what happened, or he's like, I know you're this type of person, I know you do drugs, alcohol, and all of this stuff, and I know you would have been the person that, you know, assaulted the girl, and, you know, you're the only person she named, and all of that. And it was really like, that man, the dad, is so friggin' scary. The way he is shot and the seriousness in his face is so incredibly terrifying. And like, I'm worried for Nashwa's friend at this point. Basically, the dad overhears Nashwa's friend talking to her about what happened and the fact that he is Ammar is the person that did all of this. And the thing, okay, wait, like, we gotta talk about this. The dad is like, you're just like your uncle, I know it, and he lists all of his bad things, and that, like, the fact that he assaulted someone is like, oh, you're like your uncle. And I'm like, my guy, I'm pretty sure you've been harassing your sister-in-law forever. Like, projection at its finest. Oh my god. And when it comes to Nashwa's friend, I am genuinely worried for her safety, and I think that we're going to see that someone's going to intimidate her on behalf of the dad, or Ammar's dad, in order to protect him. And Ammar is going to be sent out of the country, it seems, or he has been sent out of the city and probably later out of the country because of like the situation that they find themselves in. And one thing that throws me off about Nashwa's friend is like, her glasses on her face are so friggin' huge. It looks really weird to me. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but it's really odd to me. And at this point, I'm kind of surprised by the reaction that Nashwa gave, because it seemed like she was unsure, and I think she wants to gather information, but I think she's realizing that yes, her cousin likely was the person involved in the situation, or at least was at the scene of the crime, or somehow involved, because she knows how her cousin is, and she did catch him that night, or in the middle of the night when he came home after Fajr, apparently. And so I just didn't expect her to be like quiet, like very quiet, and not really be like, oh, we need justice right away. So I think that's also kind of realistic given her situation, but it'll be interesting to see how that all evolves and changes in the next couple of episodes. That brings me to the end of my like 9 dramas that I'm watching this week, and I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these shows, especially AIk Chubhan and Qarz E Jaan. What do you think is going to happen next, and what kind of ending do you want to see for these shows? Let me know down in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, and support the channel in whatever way you can, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.